So recently there's been a big discussion about whether bodybuilders can fight or not. And this all seemed to start when Devon Henney was on Brian Martin's podcast.
And people think that like muscles like mean something. Muscles don't mean nothing.
Yeah, if I could jump on you, then maybe. If I could hold you on the floor, sure.
Yes.
But in boxing, no, I know that's not.
But even in a street fight,
I would beat the out of you in the street.
No,
fight.
I would kill you, bro.
Yeah,
I would kill you, bro.
God, I love it.
So yeah, this clip made its way around social media and had lots of people debating on who would win. This made me realize that there's a big misconception that muscles win fights. Hi, my name is Martin Rios. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Exercise Science, and in terms of MMA experience, I have a black belt in Taekwondo, and I do MMA as a hobby now. Because I'm here to make fitness great again, I'll be going over why bodybuilders are not great fighters. Before I get into my amazing analysis, I do want to clarify that I'm not saying that size doesn't matter. Khabib Nurmagomedov pretty much killed himself on the scales so he would have a size advantage over his opponent. So yeah, size is a pretty big advantage, but it's not the only aspect of fighting. You can pretty much divide the aspects of fighting into 3 different categories: size, athletic performance, and technique/skill. So basically size does play a part in fighting, but so does athleticism and technique/skill. So now that I got that out of the way, I'll go over my actual breakdown of why bodybuilders can't fight. For the sake of this video, I'll be discussing it in terms of MMA rules, as MMA is the most complete form of fighting, and there are no rules in a street fight. So it'd be super hard and kind of weird to break it down in terms of a street fight. Demetrius Mighty Moose Johnson articulates this point really well.
But I'll always believe in my skill set over somebody who's 300 pounds. Just because you're bigger than me doesn't mean you're necessarily going to beat me. And then his thing all stems from a street fight. Like, I'm like, hey, what's a street fight? Let's be honest. What is a street fight? I was like, because I have a friend who carries 2 fucking daggers on his belt line, and he gets in a street fight, he goes, I wish a motherfucker would, because he got jumped.
The first reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is that they're very injury prone, aka they're soft, fragile soy boys. I mean, most of us have seen that clip where that bodybuilder fights and then wrecks his hamstring. I mean, hamstring injuries in a sport like soccer are pretty common, but not in an MMA fight, because unless you're a trash fighter, you're never sprinting. The reason why bodybuilders are very injury prone is because they have many risk factors. One of it being a high BMI. I don't care if you're fat or you're muscular, having that much mass on your body is not good for your joints. I mean, C-Bum almost has the BMI of a morbidly obese person, and his knees are literally crying for help.
I just hear that. I just hear her. It sounds just like that Velcro.
Another risk factor for injuries is decreased range of motion. While this doesn't apply to all bodybuilders, most bodybuilders ignore mobility training. This limited range of motion increases the chance of injury. The dumbass exercises that bodybuilders select also increases the chance of injury. When it comes to the legs, bodybuilders do whatever they can to take stability and balance out of the movement. So obviously their balance is probably not going to be the best, and worse balance will increase the chance of a lower extremity injury. And because bodybuilders don't train their stabilizers, they will be more prone to injuries, especially the shoulder joint, which is an inherently unstable joint. This is why you saw Alan Eubank dislocate his shoulder after he just boxed 1 time. And if you include the fact that bodybuilders spam lifting belts, which increases the chance of injury when they're not wearing one, their fight might stop not because they actually got beat up, but because they're fragile soy boys. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is that they're stiff as fuck. I mean, just look at Maurice Thirsty-Man fighting. Even Brian Martin, who isn't as bad as Maurice Thirsty-Man, is pretty stiff. And you don't have to just take my word for it. Mason Ali said it too.
And when a guy comes up with big old muscles like George Foreman, you understand? And that means he's tight and he's like, but men like this are like real fast.
So when one of the best boxers of all time and the best fitness influencer of all time say that bodybuilders are stiff, you know they're stiff. I'll go more into detail later in the video as to why bodybuilders are stiff, but it pretty much comes down to their workout routine. And when you're stiff, not only do you look like ass when you're fighting, but it will make you a worse fighter. Being stiff obviously leads to terrible technique, which will lead to decreased power in both kicks and punches, as well as increased energy expenditure, aka decreased stamina, because they're using unnecessary energy. A great way to see this is looking at these 2 runners run. They're both going at pretty much the same speed, but one of them looks like they're using way more energy. And that's what being stiff will lead to. You're using unnecessary energy to throw strikes. So if a bodybuilder happens to make it to the late rounds of a fight, they're going to be absolutely done. Stiff punches are also slow and highly telegraphed, which will make it easier for the opponent to avoid and counter. So to sum up, being stiff will not only make you look like an idiot, but significantly hurt your fighting ability as well. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is terrible mobility. Most bodybuilders do very little, if not completely ignore mobility training. There's a reason why the top fighters do heavy amounts of mobility work. It's because good mobility is necessary to throw powerful strikes, especially kicks, which require a lot more mobility. Because bodybuilders have bad mobility, they will literally lose half their tools, aka using their legs to throw kicks. Bodybuilders still may be able to throw leg kicks, but because they're very unathletic and they're really stiff, those probably won't be effective either. Decreased range of motion also plays a part with bodybuilders being super stiff, and will also affect them in grappling exchanges because their decreased range of motion will lead to them being more susceptible to joint submissions. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is that they're strong but not powerful. And I'm being nice saying that they're strong because their stability and their core strength sucks. An easy way to think about this is strength is low speed strength and power is high speed strength. When you look at a bodybuilder do reps, they do them pretty slow. And this might be good for hypertrophy and for strength, but it's not good for developing power. This is why you typically see athletes do reps fast, or they do upper body plyometrics so they can develop power. Unlike strength, there's a speed component to power. And it's very important for sports, especially MMA. Because bodybuilders don't have much power or high speed strength, takedown entries and takedowns will be much slower and less powerful. A good example of power is Alex Pereira. He's not the most muscular dude in the world, but the dude is obviously very powerful because he puts dudes to sleep. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is their workout routine. Firstly, bodybuilders prioritize dumb machines that are super easy and stable. And while bodybuilders like to brag, oh, machines are way better than free weights, this bites them in the ass when it comes to any out of the gym activity. Bodybuilders pick machines to take away the stability demand of exercises, but unfortunately for these idiots, you can't do that in real life. The stable environment of machines does not replicate real world activities, and in this case, it doesn't replicate an MMA fight. Every activity in an MMA fight will require a stability demand, which is why their machine exercises won't transfer to a fight very well. This is why you see MMA fighters prioritize free weights, because free weights most closely replicates the stability demands of real world activities, and in this case, the stability requirements of an MMA fight. The next thing about their workout routine is that bodybuilders train muscles, but not movements. When a bodybuilder wants to train chest, they'll say, oh, I'm gonna use a Smith machine bench press, then I'll go use a chest machine, and then I'll do a cable fly. One athlete thinks, oh, I'm gonna go improve my pushing strength. As you can see by the exercise selection I did in my bodybuilder imitation, most of them try to isolate the chest. Bodybuilders prioritize machines and isolation exercises to hit muscles, while athletes train movements. This heavy bias of isolation and machine exercises leads to them being stiff and awkward as their muscles don't know how to work together. This is why I like to say, if you train soft in the gym, you'll be soft in real life. If you want to build an aesthetic physique but also move well and improve athleticism, be sure to check out my 90-day athletic body blueprint, which has everything you need to build muscle, including a nutrition course, direct access to me, and a great athletic bodybuilding program. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. The next reason why bodybuilders are terrible fighters is bad cardio. Bodybuilders do their fair share of cardio, but typically low intensity, long duration cardio, which works on aerobic endurance. And while aerobic endurance is important for MMA, especially for recovery in between rounds, as well as recovery in between high intensity bouts, MMA is a heavily anaerobic sport, as exchanges in MMA are typically high intensity, low to moderate duration. And while weightlifting is an anaerobic exercise, bodybuilders are typically stressing the muscle and not the energy system. This is why you typically see MMA athletes doing HIIT training to improve their anaerobic endurance. The combination of bodybuilders carrying around a bunch of unnecessary weight, being super stiff, plus having bad anaerobic endurance will lead to them having terrible cardio in a fight. The next reason why bodybuilders are terrible fighters is they don't work rotation very much. Bodybuilders have this false illusion that training rotation will lead to a big blocky waist. I knew bodybuilders weren't smart, but come on. Anyways, because of this stupid fear, bodybuilders don't train rotation much, which is incredibly important for MMA, which is a rotation heavy sport. Bodybuilders never train rotational strength, rotational stability, and most importantly, they don't train rotational power. Because of this, bodybuilders won't be able to throw effective punches and kicks and would be heavily impacted in any other situation where rotation is involved. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is that they have very weak cores. Bodybuilders literally do whatever they can to take the core out of the movement. And just like stability, you can't do that in real life, you idiot. And when bodybuilders do supplement their lazy training routines with ab work, they do dynamic ab exercises and not static ab exercises, which I would argue is more important. Static ab exercises are so important as most sports skills involve a force that can disrupt the balance of the body. And this can be external, like someone trying to take you down, or internal, such is force generated from movement of a limb, aka punching or kicking. Having a strong core will give you a strong base to generate force from. Due to stupid bodybuilders ignoring stability work, they will have greater difficulty defending takedowns. And last time I checked, you can't wear a stupid soy boy lifting belt in the octagon. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is terrible grip strength. Because bodybuilders wear lifting straps for every exercise and they don't compensate with extra grip work, they obviously have trash grip strength. Having weak grip will affect your punches as you won't be able to clench your fist effectively and will heavily affect these lazy bodybuilders in grappling and wrestling exchanges. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is bad footwork. As I mentioned earlier, bodybuilders like to take balance out of all their leg movements, and again, they can take the balance demand out of all their exercises they want to, but they can't take the balance demand out of real life. I mean, these dudes are just so stupid. Do these bodybuilders really think that doing these dumbass leg exercises will have them moving around in an MMA fight like Demetrius Mighty Moose Johnson? Having bad footwork will make bodybuilders sitting ducks for strikes, won't allow them to get looks or different angles on their opponents effectively, and will heavily impact their ability to throw effective kicks because they're on one fucking leg. The next reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is most of them are freaking nerds. I go more in depth in my optimal bodybuilders video, but a lot of these bodybuilders are just former nerds. And most nerds are not very athletic. And while you can improve athleticism, there is a very heavy genetic component to athleticism, so these nerds have a very low ceiling. And the last reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is they don't train. This has to be the most important and obvious one, yet the least talked about one. The main reason why bodybuilders can't fight is because they don't train. And while their dumbass workout routines don't help, the main reason why bodybuilders aren't great fighters is they don't have the skills and the mentality developed from actually training. Being big and having muscles doesn't mean you're a good fighter. As I mentioned earlier, you also have to have athleticism and actual technique and skill. I mean, it's just so dumb how this is even a conversation. Anyone can become a good fighter if they train hard in the gym with athletic movements and actually train MMA. And this even applies to bodybuilders. As much as I pick on Maurice Thirsty Man for his terrible fighting, even he can become a great fighter if he switches up his workout routine and trains hard. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more content like this.